Good day, everyone. Welcome to Assessment in Learning 1. In this video presentation, we're going to continue our discussion on learning objectives, particularly on the taxonomy or classification of educational objectives. It is in this video that we're going to clarify the connections or interrelationships of the three classifications of educational objectives. So please listen attentively, and all you have to do is to jot down some keywords that we're going to discuss in this video presentation. So at the end of this video presentation, you should be able to identify and discuss the three domains of educational objectives. So it it is expected of you at the end of our lesson that you can be able to identify the domains of educational objectives and be able to discuss it or explain it in your own understanding. And you should also be able to differentiate between cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. So these are the three domains that we're talking about. You're going to differentiate the three domains, how these domains can be used in writing learning objectives. The development of learners' knowledge and skills must be holistic. So if you notice that when we say holistic, it should not only be focused on one aspect. For instance, for the cognitive skills, for the social skills, for the gross motor skills. So it means to say that when the students have a formal education, it should be developed holistically. That is, the focus should not only be toward the mind or intellectual abilities and skills. So, hindi lang siya sa nade-develop yung kaisipan ng bata, but it must also embrace the development of interests, attitudes, values, and appreciation. So, dapat din mahubog ang ah, kakayahan o ang damdamin ng mga mag-aaral upang sa ganoon ay ma-appreciate niya yung mga bagay-bagay na nasa kanya at um, ma-acquire niya yung magagandang katangian ng isang estudyante o bilang isang tao. And the acquisition of manipulative motor skills. So, hindi lang pangkaisipan o pangdamdamin, pati dapat mahubog ang kakayahang pangkatawan o kalakasan ng estudyante. This supports the theory of Garner toward developing the multiple intelligences of an individual. So, and because of this, yung pagde-develop ng cognitive skills, yung affective skills and motor skills ng estudyante ay siyang ah, nakakapag-develop ng iba't ibang uri ng kakayahan ng isang bata. Since learners vary in skills and interests, so that's why we have what we call multiple intelligences. No one has the monopoly of all intelligences. It may happen that we are good in one intelligence, but we are weak in the other intelligence. So this is how learners should be developed. Towards the end, the goal of the teacher is to integrate together the development of the mind, the emotion and affection, as well as the movement. Kaya tinatawag nating the mind, the heart, and the hands in order to fully cultivate the skills and interests of learners. So, yung tinatawag na kaya nagkakaroon ng holistic development in such a way to enhance, to improve the skills of the students. Hence, there are three classifications of educational domains. So because of this, because of the intellectual abilities, the interest and attitude of students, as well as developing their manipulative motor skills, meron ngayon tayong tinatawag na three classifications of educational objectives or tinatawag nating Taxonomy of Educational Objectives. These are cognitive domain. It talks about the cognitive skills, yung kakayahang isipan ng bata at yung damdamin ng bata or affective domain skills and the psychomotor domain skills. Ito yung kakayahang pangkatawan ng bata. The cognitive taxonomy was actually described by Benjamin Bloom in 1956. So mas naunang na-develop yung cognitive domain. That's why before the 21st century, majority or mostly na dinedevelop during those times ay more onto cognitive. Kaya nga, nauso yung memorization because of this, ini-emphasize yung pag-develop ng kakayahang pangkaisipan ng bawat bata before the 21st century. And then, affective domain was only described by David Cratwell in 1964. So, tingnan nyo, 1964. And then, affective, psychomotor domain was only fully described in 1970s by Dave Simpson and Anita. So kung mapapansin nyo, na-develop muna yung cognitive and then affective and then the psychomotor. However, in the 21st century classroom setting, the three should be equally emphasized, na hindi lang dapat ine-emphasize yung cognitive, dapat din kailangan i-emphasize o i-develop ang affective at ang psychomotor domain ng bata. Each of these domains is subdivided into categories. So, ibig sabihin, bawat domain na to ay meron pang level. Sa cognitive domain, meron tayong 6 na level. Sa affective domain, meron din tayong 6 na level o 5 level. Ganon din ang psychomotor domain. So, these categories begin with the relatively simple knowledge outcomes and progress through increasing complex levels of intellectual ability. So, dito sa sinasabi nating category, sa bawat domain, meron siyang category. At sa bawat category, meron din siyang level. So, magsisimula sa pinakamababang level hanggang patungong complex level. So, ganun din sa affective at psychomotor domain. So, we're going to discuss that as we go through our lesson. The taxonomy is vital in identifying the types of learning outcomes that should be considered when developing a comprehensive list of learning objectives or outcomes for classroom instruction. Kaya mahalaga ang Taxonomy of Educational Objectives sa pag-identify kung anong klaseng learning objectives or learning outcomes ang pwede nating i-emphasize sa loob ng klase na malaman o ma-develop ng estudyante. Kaya meron tayong list of verbs na ginagamit sa bawat domain. And then we're going to discuss all those things as we go through our lesson. And you will also notice that learners' knowledge and skills progresses from one level to another. Okay. Okay, so let's now discuss the different categories of each domain, but we first discuss the cognitive domain. So the cognitive domain is classified into six hierarchical of knowledge and skills. So dito, ang cognitive domain natin ay merong anim na classification. Ito ay nagsisimula sa pinakamababang level patungong complex level of knowledge and skills. These are remember or remembering, understanding or understand, applying or apply, analyzing or analyze, evaluating or evaluate, and creating or create. These are in the new version stated in verb form. So ito yung bagong version ng Taxonomy of Educational Objectives natin. Kung mapapansin nyo, yung ginamit dito sa version na to ay verb form. Kaya remember, to understand, to apply, to analyze, to evaluate, to create. So verb form siya. However, in the old version, we have knowledge, we have comprehension, we have application, we have analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. These are in the or these are stated in the noun form. Kaya knowledge, comprehension. So these are stated in noun form sa old version to. So again, it is organized from lowest to or lowest level to the highest level of thinking skills. So ito ngayon ang tinatawag nating taxonomy of educational objectives under cognitive domain, which was developed by Bloom in 1956, the old version, and then it was revised by his former students Anderson and Cratwell in 2001. The other revision focuses on interchange of the fifth and sixth in the old version, fifth and sixth level in the old version. That is, in the new version, the evaluating now becomes the fifth level, while creating becomes the highest level in the new version of the taxonomy. So the diagram shows the old and new versions of educational objectives in the cognitive level. Take note that the revision actually it's not only from the changing of the form into noun to verb, but also the interchange of the synthesis and evaluation in the old to the new version na kung saan sa bagong version, ang evaluation natin ngayon ay nagiging fifth level while ang creation natin ay nagiging highest level. Take note, the major reason why there is a revision, it is because ine-emphasize nila yung tinatawag nating order of tasks and complexity of tasks. Pag pinag-uusapan natin ang order of tasks, yan ay nai-emphasize sa old version. Pag sinabi nating order of tasks, kailangan munang mauna ang knowledge. So pag sinabi nating mauna yung knowledge, yung pinaka-level, kailangan muna ang estudyante ay malaman niya kung ano yung mga konsepto na pinapag-aralan. So that's the knowledge. And then, after knowledge, comprehension So, pag sinabi natin comprehension, kung ano yung kanyang pag-intindi sa mga konsepto na pinag-aralan sa loob ng klase, pag alam niya nang intindihin o alam niya kung paano niya sabihin sa sarili niya o sa kanyang pangunawa yung konsepto, then pwede niya itong i-apply ngayon. So, that's the application level. And then ngayon, sa application level, ito yung pag-a-apply o paggamit ng konsepto base sa kung anong sitwasyon kailangan gamitin. So, sa analysis, the next level is analysis dito. Ano? So, yun muna ang next level sa analysis. And then, ang synthesis, ang analysis kasi yan ay breaking the parts. Ibig sabihin, binigay sa'yo yung buo, hahatiin mo. Parang ganun. So, himay-himayin mo yung mga bawat parte. Sa synthesis naman, ang sinasabi dyan ay kumbaga, basag yung isang bagay and then buuin mo. Ganun ang konsepto ng synthesis natin. And then, so, nakabuo ka na ng isang bagay out of the broken pieces, right? And then, pag nakabuo ka na, and that's the time na meron kang tinatawag na evaluation. So, take note, order of task ito, di ba? Ito yung pagkasunod-sunod ng mga tasks o gawain. No? So, evaluation is, ano ang masasabi mo ngayon sa bagay na binuo mo? So, you are actually judging the quality of the new form or the quality of the output, of the students, in case na student output ang pinag-uusapan natin. So this is for the old one, and then in the new version, ine-emphasize doon yung complexity o gaano kahirap yung gawain. So kaya ang pinakamataas dito is yung creation, kasi pag nagki-create ka o bumubuo ka ng isang bagay, you need to think, you need to brainstorm and collect everything, so kailangan mo muna magbasa-basa. For instance, kung gusto mong magsulat ng isang artikulo tungkol sa COVID, so kailangan mo muna magbasa ng mga iba't ibang artikulo upang makagawa ka ng sarili mong article out of the articles na binasa mo. So kaya mas mahirap ang bumuo ng isang bagay kaysa sa mag-judge. Kasi pag mag-judge ka, you can say anything kahit wala kang basihan, So parang ganun yung ini-emphasize dito sa new version natin. The emphasis on the complexity of tasks. So, yun yung major reason why nagkaroon ng revision. Sa old one, inuulit ko, order of tasks, and then sa new one, yung complexity of tasks. Okay, so levels of the cognitive domain. So, we will start with the lowest level, which is the remembering or remember. So this is the first level of thinking skills, which exhibits previously learned material by recalling facts, terms, basic concepts, and answers. So this is just about recalling, memorization of facts and terms. So yun yung remember, remember natin. So, ano yung mga keywords na ginagamit dito? Say, define, list, recall, name, describe, state, repeat, label, match, reproduce, select, state, identify. So, these are some of the keywords. Take note, may mga iba pa na kasali dito under remember. So, if we're going to use these keywords in our learning objectives, so, for instance, meron tayong example dito kung paano gamitin ang keywords na to under this level. So, to identify the first president of a country. So, there is the word identify. So, identification. So, for instance, kung meron kang exam let the students to identify. Kaya nga, mostly pag may exam tayo na identify the following concepts. O, di ba? Pag ganun yung test natin, it is still under the knowledge level or the remembering level. So, pinakamababang skills, the first skills, and at the same time, the lowest skill. Then, the next, to state the properties of real numbers. So, state. So, pag sinabi, sabihin, paano mo to gagawin ng estudyante? State, pwede kang magpa-recite out of this, di ba? So, let the students to recite the properties of real numbers. And then, to enumerate the kinds of triangles. So, dito, pwedeng recitation, pwede din test. Ano? So, ang gagawin is just to enumerate. It's like listing the kinds of triangles. So, pag enumerate is still under, kaya nga sa exam, kung meron, enumerate the following. So, that's the lowest level or simply the knowledge level or remembering level. Another one is to state the vision and mission of a university. This is still part of the remembering or the knowledge level. So, ganun natin gagamitin yung keywords under this level. Then, the next level is understanding or comprehension level. No? So, this is the second level of thinking skills. So, this is to demonstrate understanding of facts and ideas by organizing, comparing, translating, interpreting, giving descriptions, and stating main ideas. So, dito yung nag-i-interpret. So, paano the students will explain their own understanding the facts or ideas. So, dito malalaman sa level na to kung yung bata ay naiintindihan niya yung kanyang binabasa, kung alam niya itong i-explain sa kanyang sarili o in his or her own words. Ano? So, understanding. So, what are the keywords? Say, compare, contrast, demonstrate, interpret, explain, extend, illustrate, infer, outline, relate, rephrase, translate, summarize, show, and classify. So, kung mapapansin nyo, previously sa under remembering, pag sinabi nating list, so ililista lang. So, dito, for instance, to interpret a graph showing the population density of the world. So, there is the word interpret. You have the graph, how the student, or how does the student interpret the graph. So, paano i-interpret ito ng estudyante? Of course, meron dapat siyang knowledge on how to read a graph. No? So, kung meron siyang knowledge, so kung alam niya kung paano magbasa, so yun ang tinatawag natin interpretation. No, hindi lang yung basta-basta na there is just a graph, and walang masasabi yung bata. Then the next one is to discuss different kinds of triangles. So dito, from the word discuss. So paano mo malalaman na yung bata is alam niya in his or her understanding yung iba't ibang klase ng triangle according to shapes. So, pwedeng out of the definition, pwede niyang i-state sa sarili niyang words yung definition ng triangles, discuss. And then we have also to estimate an outcome after a period of time based on existing data. So, estimate. Take note also, kasi kung minsan may mga words na naisama sa mga ibang level. But you need to be cautious, kailangan maging maingat sa pagsulat, at kailangan din tingnan kung paano mo ginamit yung word na yan in the sentence or in the learning objective. So you need to be careful, but mostly the keywords that are stated in this level are understanding level. No? Okay, so next, applying or application level. No? So this is the third level of thinking skills. So it refers to solving problems by applying acquired knowledge, facts, techniques, and rules in a different way. So dito na sa level na to, gagamitin ng bata yung natututunan niyang mga knowledge or concepts, no? So i-apply niya na dito. Mostly ang pinaka-obvious na example dito is the word apply, ano? Or another one is solve. So yung mga keywords na yun ay under application level. So demonstrate, illustrate, operate, perform, interpret, apply, use, practice, predict, implement, solve, and discover. Take note, tignan mo itong interpret. Di ba? Ang interpret is nandun sa understanding. So, dito naman is ginamit din ang apply dito sa interpret. So, you need to be careful sa paggamit. Ano? So, tingnan natin yung example. To construct charts and graphs. So, from the word construct, may knowledge na yung bata about constructing charts and graphs. No? So, yan yung isang objective natin. Apply the steps in baking cake, or from the word apply. And then, perform the fundamental steps in automotive, or take note the word perform. So, these are still part of the application level. So, these are the samples of learning objectives under this level. No? The next level is analyze. Okay, this is the fourth level of thinking skills. So it refers to examining and breaking information into parts by identifying motives or causes, making inferences, and finding evidence to support generalization. So ito yung paghimay himay sa information. So you are breaking now the information. So what are the evidences out of the given information? So, yun, no? Ito yung sinasabi niya. Identification of the parts. Analysis of relationship between parts. So, take note, ano? Yun yung example natin is yung, let's say you have an article and then in order for you to understand the article, you need to read the articles and then you're going to answer the W8 questions, ano? Who, what, where, when, and how. So yun, parang you are breaking down information out of those questions. What are the keywords to be used here? Distinguish, analyze, differentiate, compare, contrast, appraise, classify, outline, categorize, breakdown, diagram, infer, illustrate, separate, point out. Take note, may mga ibang keywords pa no, na hindi pa naisali dito. So, but mostly these are the commonly used keywords under this level. So, example of, of using keywords in our learning objectives. So, to deduce facts from a hypothesis. So, ibig sabihin, you're going to prove, di ba? So to solve problems involving addition of like and dislike fractions. So the word solve. To distinguish between facts and inferences. O, to distinguish between facts and opinions. O, yun. Diba? I-analyze mo ngayon. So those are examples of keywords under analysis level. Next level is evaluation or evaluate. This is the fifth level of thinking skills in the new version. Take note, no? So, this refers to the ability to judge the value of material for a given purpose. So, dito ka na nag-a-assess o nagsasabi ng anong kung maganda ba yung gawa o maganda ba yung kalidad ng output ng estudyante. So, yun. You are interpreting the value. No? You are judging the value. You are giving judgment to the output of the students in case na output ng estudyante yung pinag-usapan natin dito. What are the keywords? Evaluate, compare, assess, justify, judge, appraise, rate, choose, decide, rank, critique, conclude, contrast, discriminate. So, mostly ang ginagamit, these are the commonly used keywords under this under this level. So, but mostly ang ginagamit is evaluate or justify. So, yun. So, how can we use this keyword? Example, to recognize fallacies in an argument. To recognize. No? So, wala dito. So, still part pa rin siya. No? And then, to assess the project outputs of students using rubrics or criteria. From the word assess. So, to assess the project, definitely kailangan kang may rubrics or simply criteria. Para masasabi mo na may kalidad or kulang pa yung ginawa ng bata. Okay. So, dito naman, to recognize fallacies in an argument. So, what are fallacies? No? Ito yung, yung mga haka-haka, intuition. So, kumbaga, hindi siya fact statements or facts argument. Ano? So, that's for the evaluation level. And then, let's proceed to the highest level of thinking skills, which is creation or creating. No? This is the highest level. So, this refers to the ability to put parts together to form a new whole. So, kaya sinasabi ko na kumbaga parang basag, di ba? May basag na, let's say, banga, and then kailangan mong kunin lahat ng pieces na yun para buuin ulit. That's actually the analogy of what we call creation. Ano, you make a new one. Example dito is gagawa ka ng speech mo, di ba? Pag gumawa ka ng essay mo, so kailangan mo na magbasa-basa ka para ka makagawa ng magandang essay. Or another example is yung research proposal also. Ano, paano ka gagawa ng research proposal kung wala kang nabasa mga researches, prior researches or studies. Or term paper, paano ka gagawa ng term paper kung hindi mo alam yung topic ng gusto mong gawing term paper, no? So what are the keywords? Diagnose, propose, design, manage, hypothesis, summarize, plan, formulate, arrange, organize, construct, compile, synthesize, compose, and reconstruct. So this is all about creating something. You need to design, you summarize, you plan, formulate. So still part siya ng creation level natin, creating level. Example in our learning objectives, to produce an original piece of art. So from the word produce. So paano ka makakagawa niyan? Paano mo malalaman na yung bata ay nakaproduce ng original piece of art? Parang ganun yung tanong. To write a poem. O, ayan. So, we have the word write. Diba? That's, when you say write, that's part of creation. Diba? To construct a miniature of a particular building. So, of course, construct. So, kailangan matinding brainstorming dito para ka makagawa ng building. Then, another design, my future wedding gown. So, kailangan na matinding pag-iisip na lang kung ano ang itsura ng wedding gown. Ano? And then, we have to create unique basket out of indigenous material. So, from the word create. So, mapapansin nyo, create, design, construct, it talks about creating something or building something. No? So, this is an example of learning objectives under creation level. Okay, so let's talk about the levels of affective domain. When we say affective domain is concerned with feelings or emotions. So it talks about our emotions and feelings towards something or someone. So this is also very important for the students to develop their affective domain in such a way to control themselves, and be able to reason out when they feel something bad or something good to them. And this taxonomy or this domain is divided into 5 levels of objectives. The lowest level is receiving, the second level is responding, the third is valuing, the fourth is organizing, and the highest level is characterizing. When we say receiving, it refers to the learner's willingness to attend to particular phenomena or stimuli. Ano yung sinasabi natin? Phenomena, stimuli. Ito yung classroom activities. Yung textbook, yung sounds, or other prevailing situations. From a teaching point of view, it is concerned with getting, holding, and directing the student's attention. So, kumbaga, you are, as if you are a teacher, you are getting the attention of the students, ano, to be able to feel uh, and aware, ano, of what's happening, let's say, inside the classroom. And then for responding, active participation on the part of the learner. So dito yung nakikipag-participate na siya, no? Voluntary or nagkakaroon ng active attention to stimuli such as acceptance or willingness to respond or feeling of satisfaction. So that's for responding. Kumbaga, tinanong mo and then nag-respond siya. So kaya nga minsan ini-emphasize ng teacher yung participation at cooperation ng bawat isa sa loob ng klase, no? So kaya importante yung active participation sa part ng learner para ma-develop yung kanyang communication skills, yung kanyang self-confidence also. So it's still part of the affective domain. And then the next is valuing. Concerned with the worth or value of a learner attaches to a particular object. So from the word valuing, which is the third level, no? So this ranges in degree from the more simple acceptance of a value. So this is to desires to improve group skills or to more complex level of commitment, assumes responsibility for the effective function of the group. So dito, it refers to the beliefs and evaluations in the form of acceptance, preference, and commitment. So dito, nagkakaroon ng what do you call this? Ownership of o yung bata ay binavalue niya, pinapangalagahan niya yung kung ano yung binigay sa kanyang task. Ano? O kung ano man yung responsibility na naiatang sa kanya during the classroom activity. Next is organizing. This is refers to or concerned with bringing together different values or resolving conflicts between them. So learning outcomes may be concerned with the conceptualization of value, recognizes the responsibilities of individual for improving human relations. So dito, it refers to the development of philosophy of life. Ano? So, kumbaga, kaya nga nagkakaroon tayo ng classroom organization. So, we have different, let's say, ang estudyante natin, they come from different walks of life, iba-iba ng attitude, iba-iba ng behavior, and then, may kanya-kanyang views, pananaw sa buhay. And then, but then, we need to develop among our students that they should be able to accept the differences and be able to solve conflicts in such a way to have what we call a harmonious relationship between them. Ano? That's why there is what we call organization. Ano? in the group or in the classroom. The next is characterizing. So it is the highest level of affective domain. The individual or the learner has a value system that has controlled behavior for a sufficient long time for him or for her to have developed a characteristic lifestyle. So thus the behavior is pervasive, consistent, and predictable. So learning outcomes at this level cover a broad range of activities, but the major emphasis is on the fact that the behavior is typical or characteristic of students. So take note, a value system that has controlled behavior for a sufficiently long time. So dito, na-develop na yung magandang asal ng bata, and at the same time, na-develop na din sa kanya yung kung paano siya makipagsalamuha in the proper way. It talks about actually the proper behavior, no? At nai-internalize niya, nai-apply niya yung magandang ugali na kanyang natutuhan either sa loob ng klase or outside the class. So that's more on to characterizing. So parang naisa sa buhay niya yung mga magagandang katangian na kanyang na-acquire, no, habang siya ay nag-aaral. Okay, so these are what we call the levels of affective domain. Okay, and then let's see how these levels used in the learning objectives. So what are the keywords to be used for each level? So for receiving, we have ask, choose, describe, follow, give, hold, identify, locate, name, point to, select, and reply. So these are just some of the keywords that are under receiving level. Then for responding, we have answer, assist, compile, conform, discuss, greet, help, label, perform, practice, present, read, recite, report, select, to tell, and write. And then next is complete, describe, differentiate, explain, follow, initiate, invite, join, justify, propose, read, report, select, share, study, and work. Under organizing, we have also adhere, alter, arrange, combine, compare, complete, defend, explain, generalize, identifies, integrate, modifiers, orders, and relate. The last or the highest, which is act, discriminate, display, influence, listen, modify, perform, practice, propose, qualifies, question, revise, serve, solve, use, and verify. So these are some of the words that are being used for each level of affective domain. Okay, so let's see the example of learning objectives under each level. Example for receiving, the learning objectives are to identify animals according to their sound. And the other learning objective, to show a proper gesture. So that's under the receiving level. And then the next level is to answer a question being raised. Then the second objective is to contribute to group discussions by asking questions. So responding level. Next is to argue over an issue on anti-terrorism bill. And the other objective to complete the assigned task, valuing. And then for organizing level, to organize a meeting concerning a neighborhood housing. So from the organize. And the highest level, example of learning objective, to demonstrate in front of a government building in behalf of a cause or idea. So this is how uh, learning objectives of its levels be illustrated. So in order for you to be able to practice, so you need to refer to the keywords whenever you write learning objectives for its level of domain. So let's talk about levels of psychomotor domain. And our reference is Harrow, 1972. So we have the reflex movements. The second level is fundamental movements, perceptual abilities, physical abilities, the fourth level. The fifth level is skilled movement. And the highest level under this domain is non-discursive communication. When we say reflex movements, it talks about reactions that are not learned. Example, yung involuntary reaction. So, ano yung mga involuntary reaction ng bata? So, hindi siya pinapag-aralan. No? So, to contract a muscles. So, that's the example in terms of learning objectives. How about for fundamental movements? Basic movement. Example, yung walking, grasping. So, for instance, in our learning objectives, to run a 100-meter dash. So, it's part of the fundamental movements. For our perceptual, it means response to stimuli, visual and auditory, to distinguish distance and close sounds. No? So, response to stimuli. So, ano yung mga naririnig niya? So, for instance, yung bata, di ba? Parang, ano yung nakikita niya? So, kailangan niyang sabihin. Kung ano yung nakikita niya, kailangan niyang gayahin. O kung ano yung naririnig niya na sound, so kailangan niya ding gayahin. So, para may kakayahan siya na mag-distinguish ng mga bagay-bagay ayon sa kanyang kakayahan. Ano? So, next is physical abilities, stamina that must be developed to do 5 sit-ups. So, this is more on to, let's say, mga exercises na to. Exercise, stretching, something like that. So, this is more on to about your physical aspect of your body. Then, the next level is skilled movements. Advanced learned movements. So, sports, acting. So, dito na yung pumapasok yung mga mga sports, events, yung mga skit or role playing, so dito na pumapasok under this. So let's say to dance the basic steps of waltz. So kaya kung minsan sa PE subject natin we have what we call yung final output din is yung culmination, to show the different steps in terms of dances. So skilled movement siya. Kung refined ba yung mga movements mo or what, something like that. So that's for the skilled movements. For the non-described, use effective body language. So dito na parang it's like you're an artist. So lahat na nakikita na yung facial expression mo, yung body gesture mo, body language mo. So this is the highest form of psychomotor domain. So example dito is to act in a play. So yun nga, parang role playing na ito, So nakikita na yung facial expression mo, definitely yung galaw mo, kung refine ba gumalaw or lalo na sa pagsasayaw, graceful ba or matigas yung katawan mo. So something like that. So these are what we call levels of psychomotor domain, its attributes, and at the same time, example of learning objectives under this level. I hope you be able to get all the categories of the taxonomy of educational objectives.